Right. Our next transformation is going to be rotations. Okay, so rotations. The definition is just you are turning around a center, right? We're talking points, we're talking shapes, which are made up of points. So I want you to picture like a figure skater, right? Where you've got the figure skater and they're doing the little spin, right? I forget the name of that particular spin, right? But they're spinning around like this, right? Like I'm on my chair, but there you go. A spin like that, right? So that's an example of a rotation. Now that's an example where the center, right, like an axis of rotation is like directly on the person, right? And then I also want you to kind of think about a pivot, right? If you play basketball or other sports, where you've got like, for example, right, you got like here your feet, right, and you're dribbling in basketball. You pick up your dribble, and then you're stuck, right? Except you can pivot, right? Like you can pivot around here. Well, that's going to be another example of a rotation, so you can kind of get a picture. Now, with the pivot, if you think about it, that is a different type of rotation than the figure skater rotation. So it's just something to consider. They're both rotations, though. Okay. Now, before we get into this part right here, I just wanted to show you an example with this little goofy-looking face right here. So, right, we typically think about rotations just like spinning around in one spot, right? So like just like that, where we have an axis here and then we're spinning around, and that's an example of a rotation. That's a perfectly fine example of a rotation, where the center would be basically in between the little face's eyes. So, but a different example and more similar to what we're going to be seeing is something like this, where we have the face, and this is going to be our center of rotation. So we're going to hold that point, but then rotate this guy around, right? That's also another example of rotation, right? As long as you're keeping that point, this time the center is just here, right? My little paper clip, right, is the center, and this end of the paper clip, I guess, is really the center, is what I'm trying to refer to. So there we go. That's another example of a rotation, and this is the type of rotations that we will be working with in the coordinate plane. So let's take a look. Okay. Now, first, I want to say that all the following are going to be counterclockwise. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Right? You think about a clock. We're going the opposite way that time moves. Okay. All right. So here we go. 90-degree rotation. Okay. Let's go ahead and get a pin. 90-degree rotation. Okay, so our first rule, here we go, right? So if we have coordinates of x, comma, y, we're going to now change those coordinates to negative y, comma, x. That represents, that is the rule for a 90-degree rotation. Now, I like to think about these as the words of what we're doing. So the first thing you're going to do is, right, we have 2 bullet points. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to switch the coordinates, right? Notice that we started off with x and y, and y is in this place now, and then x is in this place. So we are flipping from here to here, okay? And then we want to negate the left coordinate, okay, that one on the left. All right, so let's look at an example, and we can really see this in action. So here we go. We are going to rotate this point A, which is -4, comma 2, 90 degrees around the center of the graph, right? That's an important piece there. Okay, so right, if you think about this, it's as if we are taking, right, like that's my center point. That's that point that's locked in, and then we could, rotate around something like that, right? And this would be clockwise, and this is going to be counterclockwise, right? So there we go. That's exactly what we're doing. We're rotating about that point. All right, so anyways, -4, comma 2. Okay, we're going to switch them first. So let's go ahead and do that right here. Okay, we've got -4, comma 2, so let's switch them first. Okay, flip it. 2 is here, -4 is here. Okay, so we've taken care of that. That's the switch part. And then we want to negate the left. Okay, so let's negate the left. Well, here's my left coordinate, and we're going to negate it. That is my new 90-degree rotated point. Okay, so that's my new point A, and here we go. So -2, comma 4, -2, -2, comma -4, -2, comma -4 is here. That is going to be my A prime point. Now, it's a little bit hard to actually see where this 90-degree rotation lies. Like, where's the 90-degree part, okay? Well, let's look at this. So if we were to connect, right, like kind of how we, right, like had this piece where we were to connect, right, this corner, we're going to do that same thing, but we're going to connect it to the origin, okay? So that's what we need to do here, right? And you don't need to write this every time or anything, but just to show you, right, I'm going to do it real light here just so you can see it a little bit. That's your 90 degrees part, okay? So we are rotating that 90 degrees, right? And you can see that right angle right there, okay? So there's where that's where the 90 degrees comes into play, all right? That would be a rule for a 90-degree rotation around the origin. Let's go ahead and do the next one, 180 degrees. Okay, these are basically the three most common, right? These are the ones that have rules where we can literally go and just use the coordinates to get our rotation. All right, so the rule, we start off with x comma y, and we now have negative x comma negative y. The words, we're going to negate both, okay? Really just a one-step situation here, okay? So we've got 3 comma negative 4. Well, it says to negate both. Notice they're in the same position, right? X still stands here. Y still stands here, right? So we have 3. Okay, and then negative 4. But we need to negate, so let's negate here. And then we run into this situation where it's already negative. Well, if it's already negative, we still need to negate it. So we're going to go ahead and erase that sign and get a negative 3 comma 4 as my new point. All right, so we already had this point B on the graph. 3 comma negative 4 is here. That's my original. And then let's get a B prime, and that is going to be at negative 3 comma 4. So here we go, 1, 2, 3 to the left because it's my X, up 4 because it's my Y. There is my B prime. And in order to see that center of rotation, in case you wanted to see it again, we'll kind of draw this lightly again. Started here, and then we are rotating all the way around, and we end up here, right? So your angle here is 90 degrees. Oh, sorry, 180 degrees. 180 degrees, all the way around, okay? All the way around. Cool. That is rotating 180 degrees. Now, let me just go ahead and say, right, you may be rotating shapes, okay? But we're always going to take those shapes one point at a time. So it's really as long as you can do 1 point, you can do all of them, all right? That's 180 degree rotation. And the last one, yeah, we're almost done with the video, and it's 8 minutes in. Crazy. So this is a short one. 270 degree rotation. Okay, here's the rule, x comma y. We're now going to change it to y comma negative x. All right, so you can see that we're going to be switching again, all right? But this time we're going to negate the right coordinate, okay? So just to compare it to your 90 degree, right? We switched and negated the left, but now we are switching and negating the right, okay? So just a quick distinction to make sure that you understand. All right, so we're starting off with negative 2 comma 1. Let's go ahead and switch them first. Okay, the switching part is here. Taking care of that. That's the switching, right? We were here, and we flipped over here, okay? And then negating the right. So we look at the right. Here it is. It's already negative, so I need to make it a positive, and we'll go ahead and erase that. And there we go, 1 comma 2. That's my new point, my C prime, as we'll call it. And yeah, so let's go ahead and graph it. C, that's at negative 2 comma 1 already. Let's get to 1 comma 2. 1 comma 2, there it is. There's my C prime. And we are done with that one. Now let's just make sure we actually see that 270 degree rotation. I'm connecting it to the origin. I'm connecting it to the origin. And we're rotating all the way around here. Okay? So you can kind of still see that right angle, right? That's because, 360 minus that 90 gets you this 270 degree rotation in here. That is a 270 degree rotation. Now, if you were to think about if you were to do one more 90 degree rotation all the way around, you're going to end up at that 360 mark, right? So that would be like rotating the point all the way around, and then it would end back up right where it started. All right? That is rotations. this silly man says bye. Have a great day. See you later.